Hey guys, so today I'm going to share, in this video, I'm going to talk about a project that's been built on the Qubic network that's really interesting to me. And I think some of you guys will find really interesting. And it's called QCAP. And it's really cool what this project's trying to do. I don't know whether it'll work. It's a risky project to invest in right now, but I've gone for it a little bit, and I think it's worth checking out anyway. So I'm going to talk about that in this video and try and describe everything about it. So let's get into it. So yeah, guys, I've been thinking about what's the best way to explain this project, because really it's very simple fundamentally, but then like all things, it's as you're trying to explain all the different phases of it, it can be a little complicated and convoluted. So probably the best way that I'm going to do it is I made a post on X about it originally. I'm just going to talk through that post first and explain what I'm saying in that post, and then look at the white paper, and hopefully with two things together, I'll probably repeat a lot of things, but the two things together, you'll get an idea and it'll make sense. The first thing to note, this is a completely new project on a really new chain, which is the Qubic network. So it's high, just investing in Qubic is risky, although I think it's a really super high potential project. Investing in QCAP is even riskier, because you need Qubic to be a success, and then you need QCAP to be a success. But I'm going to show you in this video anyway how if Qubic as a network is successful, then QCAP should be infinitely successful. So you're kind of gambling on Qubic being successful, which I guess if you're watching this video, you've already gambled on that. And with QCAP, then you're probably almost 10xing your return out of that. But anyway, I'll explain everything that I understand about it. And I want to also say that I don't know everything either, obviously. And this is not financial advice. It's just what I've decided to invest in and have a go at. And it's the sort of thing, if you've only got a little bit of money, just focus on Qubic or, some other project if you want, lower risk projects if you like. But if you've got a little bit of extra money to invest, this one's worth checking out. And it's a really great idea. So basically, to explain what Qubic is. So when a project launches on the Qubic network, if you go to your Qubic wallet, let me see if I got my Qubic wallet here. I've got tester one set up. So if you go to your Qubic wallet, and down here there's an IPO section, which is empty right now. But when a new project launches, so for example, if we take the project called Quotary, Quotary, for example, oh crap, they've changed where Quotary is located. Let me see if I can find it really quick with a Google search. So yeah, hopefully this is the one. Yeah. So if you go to their betting app called Quotary, you can bet on anything anytime. It's a decentralized betting app, and for each bet, when you create a bet, there's going to be a fee. So some of the Qubic's going to be burnt, and then there's going to be a 3% fee on each bet that's created. So that fee is income generated. So when this app was launching, it was launched with 676 shares. And you, me, or anyone could go in here to the IPO section. And in the IPO section, we could bid to own one of the 676 shares of Quotary. And then Quotary, over time, while it's on a weekly basis, it's generating fees from all these bets. And those fees get paid out to the 676 people. So if you own one Quotary share, you'd earn, 1/676th of all the fees that are generated by this app. So it's a way to earn passive income. Obviously, because Qubic is a new network and this is a new app, it's probably not generating huge fees just yet. But over time, as we can see, there's like 10 million gambled on here. 3% fee on that would be why do I embarrass myself by trying to do maths on live here? 300,000 or 30,000, one or the other. I'm not going to try and do it in my head and just make a show of myself. 125 million, you can work that out again. What a 3% fee, if that would be, it'd be all paid out on a weekly basis to one of the 676 people. So that's how it works. Examples of projects that have gone through this IPO process are the Qubic DEX. So you'd expect a DEX, if any use, becomes popular, it's going to be generating huge fees. So every time someone makes a swap on the Qubic DEX, there'll be a fee on that, and then the percentage of that fee will be paid out. And then there's the computer game My Last Match, which if you haven't checked it out, looks like it's going to be a really, really high quality game, and every transaction in that game is done with Qubic, and there's a percentage fee on that. That game is going to be able to have 50,000 users online simultaneously at the same time, with only a 50 millisecond delay during the game. So those three things alone could generate a lot of income. So yeah, each of these projects generates income by charging fees. So owning an IPO share can be a great way of potentially earning, weekly income passively from Qubic projects just forever. So the issue though with IPO shares is that they're very expensive. They can cost thousands of dollars. Like the DEX shares, last time I was checking, cost around $20,000 each. They're probably going to go up in value soon. So to buy a share in this Qubic DEX, like you'd have to pay about $20,000. So you can imagine that's not something that a lot of people can afford to do. And this is where QCAP comes in. So the QCAP project has copied the tokenomics of Bitcoin, and there's 21 million QCAP tokens. And a portion of these tokens are sold every month, and then the proceeds from these sales are used to buy IPO shares. So they sell these QCAP tokens, and then they use those QCAP tokens to buy shares, IPO shares in projects like Quotary here. And then if you own QCAP tokens, or if you actually own this other thing called Q Vault, but we won't go into that. If you own those, you earn then a weekly passive income from the shares that are owned by the QCAP project. So let me just go and open up their X page for a second here. So QCAP, let's just go in and give me a second to see, can I find the project? Yeah, Qubic Capital. So if you go in here, so these guys basically, you go and message them, say you want to buy some QCAP tokens, then they have all these shares, and then with all these shares, they go and they buy those shares, and then they'll receive income for those shares, and then through a smart contract, they pay out all the people who own the QCAP token that they're selling. So this is an example that I just came up with. So let's say that the QCAP team announces that they're selling 100,000 QCAP tokens at a cost of 250,000 Qubic each. So it would cost you 250,000 to buy one QCAP. So for 1 billion Qubic, you'd buy 4,000 QCAP. Now the QCAP team will use the proceeds from the sale of these tokens to buy some IPO shares. So for example, they might buy one Quotary, one QDEX, and one My Last Match share. It's just an example. I think at the moment they own about 40 Quotary, something like that, 20 QDEX, and around 40 My Last Match. And there's other projects, not just these ones. I think they're doing they have shares in all these projects. So then they add those shares to their existing pool of shares, and that they might have. This could be an example of it. Then every week, when people use these platforms, they generate fees, and those fees are then paid out to shareholders. So people are using Quotary right now. When they use it, the fee is 3%, and then those fees are paid out to all the shareholders who have bought it through the IPO. So then that when those shares are paid out, since Qubic Capital owns a certain amount of those shares, they get paid out a fee, and then you as a QCAP holder through a smart contract receive your portion of that fee. And then they distribute the income from the shares to QCAP holders based on the percentage of QCAP held by each person. So let's just say if you have 4,000 QCAP and the total currently in circulation is 1 million QCAP, then 1 million by 4,000 equals 250. So you receive 1/250th of the total payout that QCAP received. I don't want to get into why it's a risky investment. I'm just saying that there now. It's a completely new project. If the Qubic network isn't successful, then this project is going to fail miserably. But if the Qubic network gets a lot of users and successful, then this project should be really successful. Here's why I think it's a great investment. If the Qubic network starts getting some decent use, not even major use, then the projects on it should start generating a decent income from fees. Currently, the price for a QCAP is under $1. Now, think about that. Each QCAP costs under $1 and it pays out an income each week. So even with very low usage, it's reasonable to think that QCAP could pay out, each QCAP token could pay out about 1 cent per week. That would mean that you'd earn 52 cents per year. So after 2 years, you would have earned 104 cents, meaning you would have earned back the cost of your QCAP token in passive income over 2 years. And you still got your original QCAP token, which would still be worth at least $1 and may have gone up in price. So at that point, you'd have doubled your income. Now, obviously, we're talking about one QCAP token here, but you can imagine the numbers. If you're earning if you've got thousands of QCAP, you'd earn over 2 years $1,000, but you've also got these QCAP tokens which are worth $1,000. But then, if the Qubic network starts generating a lot of use and each QCAP token start generating more like 50 cents or maybe $1, and just using $1 as a rounded number because it's an easy number to understand, that means then that for each QCAP that you would have bought for less than $1 is now generating $52 per year. And then what happens to the price of the QCAP token? Well, if it's generating $52 per year, it has to go up in price. So I'm guessing it would at least be worth $100 if it's generating $52 per year. And the QCAP token itself, it's generating income and it's also worth money itself. It's got to be worth at least $100. I'd say it's got to be worth way more, probably, closer to $1,000 at that point. Then the thing that I think is most interesting about this is if you're buying IPO shares. So, for example, you might buy an IPO share here in Quotery. Quotery could fail miserably as a project, and you could have paid thousands of dollars for a Quotery share, but then maybe My Last Match or the QDEX could be successful. So you're not diversified if you're buying separate shares yourself, but if you're buying into QCAP, since they're investing in all the projects, you're going to have a diversified portfolio. So if one project fails and the other succeeds, you're going to be protected and you're going to be profitable. So that was my post on X. Then I just want to go on to the white paper and just talk about, what the actual QCAP team said themselves. And they're saying that, Qubic Capital enables everyone to own shares in smart contracts and be diversified by being able to invest in IPOs. And then they go into smart contracts and just talk about the Qubic smart contracts and the auction model that they use, where 676 shares are available for each project that's launched on the Qubic network. Then they talk about the Pareto principle, which is that it's the 80-20 rule, and it's basically that 80% of, it can be applied to anything, but in the case of Qubic shares, it's 80% of the shares will be owned by 20% of the people, and then 20% of those shares will generate 80% of the money or profits. And, they've data to back it up because people just can't afford these shares. But the Qubic capital solution is to pool a small investor like me, our money together so that we can all together buy shares. And that's what they're doing. So the way that they're going to do it, then we'll get into in a second. So Qubic Capital aims to become the benchmark for Qubic ecosystem, offering investors a comprehensive way to gain exposure and participate in its growth. By holding QCAP, holders will be entitled to receive revenue shares from the Qubic ecosystem. This token provides exposure to a diverse range of smart contract shares, making it the simplest and most efficient way to benefit from the ecosystem's growth. Essentially, QCAP offers a straightforward method for investors to gain access to a broad spectrum of opportunities within the Qubic ecosystem, all through a single token. For any newcomer to the Qubic ecosystem, Qubic Capital aims to become their second investment after Qubic, of course. Then the Qubic use case. The QCAP token will enable each of its holders to receive revenue generated by the assets owned by a Qubic Capital. Additionally, QCAP holders can benefit from the potential appreciation of their tokens, as these tokens directly reflect the value of the underlying asset. So, the point that they're making there, what's really important, is that if you've got a token, a QCAP token, it's kind of like if you bought a shop. Like, I suppose just to talk about a real world example, you bought a shop, in your hometown, and the shop, just cost you $1,000. And that shop, when you bought it, was only generating $50 a day. And then you do some work on it, and but in a year's time, it's generating $1,000 a day. Well, the shop isn't going to be worth $1,000 anymore. It's going to be worth more like $100,000 now for someone to buy, or even more. Exact same philosophy with QCAP. The QCAP token generates an income, so you generate a passive income from fees, but also as those fees go up and that passive income goes up, the token's obviously going to be worth more because someone's going to want to buy it off you. Then people are going to be like, Jesus, you're generating, $1 a week or $10 a week from this token. I'll pay you $1,000 for it so I can get that passive income. So that's why this project has a lot of potential. And then you got to think, if, there's only going to be 21 million of these, if they're all generating an income, people aren't going to want to sell them. So it's going to get really, really scarce. So then if we look into the revenue distribution, the way it goes is 50% goes to QCAP holders, 3% is to Q Vault, smart contract holders. I won't explain that now. It doesn't matter anymore. And then 45% is used to buy more smart contracts or shares in applications. And then 2% goes to the team themselves. That's fine by me. They got to earn their money somehow. So what I really like here is that 50% goes out for the whole QCAP holders, but that 45% going to buy more smart contracts means that even as this project's inflating because there's 21 million shares or 21 million tokens, all that's being reinvested back into the project so that the number of IPO shares that are owned by this project continue to grow so that people earn more income. And then they just talk about the distribution process. I won't go into that too much. You can look that up yourself. This is just the white paper. There's 21 million supply. They talk about how it's going to be emitted. It's going to be emitted over 3 years. They give the emission schedule here. Again, you can look at that yourself. And then ensuring the value. So they're just basically doing controls over the counter sales. They're trying to prevent people selling, and then people, if they own 5,000 or more QCAP, they have certain advantages as well. Then they say how you can buy QCAP. It's on here. You can find out how to do that. Best way is just by reaching out to the Qubic Capital team. Just go to X, type in Qubic Capital and message these guys, and you can buy some that way. And then they just get into a recap. And then we've got voting process, just seeing is there anything that's interesting. And they haven't got their roadmap in place yet. And then they've got their official links and addresses here. And that's it. So yeah, it's this project, to me, I didn't want to talk about it for a long time because I didn't know how legitimate it was. But now 100% this is a 100% legitimate project because they've gone through the IPO process themselves, which means they had to be reviewed by the Qubic team, and the Qubic team has worked on coding their project now and the smart contracts with their project. So this is a 100% legitimate project. It could fail miserably, but so could the Qubic network. But if the Qubic network is successful and starts getting a large user base and becomes, a top even 50 project and has people really using it, or a top 20 project, has people using it and lots of fees being generated out of it, this project could be hugely, you could earn a lot from QCAP basically in passive income, and those QCAP could go up a lot in price. So for me, it's a good risky investment and it was worth putting some money into it. I don't think I'll invest a lot more, but I own about 1,500 of these QCAP at the moment. So it's just a cool one to check out. But again, do your own research on it. Don't be investing into this if you don't have a little bit of money left over, sitting around. But it's a good one to check out, and I think it's a really genuinely interesting project. It could be huge.